scary moment there. This past weekend, 3 teenage boys drove up to the main lobby of a hospital. The boys were ages 18, 17, and 15. As they screamed for help, one boy, the front seat passenger, was rolled out into the lobby, dead. A second boy, the driver, was injured as the shotgun blast tore through the car window, through the boy who died, and into his arm and belly. The driver survived, but needed major surgery. The third boy, seated in the back, was not injured in the blast, but it was his brother who died and his cousin who was shot. The driver, I'll refer to him now as Maurice, became our patient in the trauma unit. I met Maurice as he was walking around the unit getting some exercise and burning off pent-up energy, as you might expect from a teenage boy who'd been lying in bed for 3 days. Maurice repeatedly said, "I'm okay, I'll be fine." But he also talked about having nightmares and not being able to get thoughts about what happened to him out of his head. There was the shotgun blast through the window. The realization off in the car toward the nearest hospital to get help. Maurice talked about his family, who were so worried about him. For the first couple of days, his siblings would walk by his room, look at him, and then walk off sobbing. He couldn't understand why they were so upset. He was going to be okay. We talked about his car, and although it was technically fine, he knew he would never be able to drive it again without thinking about his cousin. It was junk to him now. Maurice talked about his cousins, both of whom were in high school and had high hopes for the future. He told me about his job, his favorite pastime, soccer. "I play 2 to 3 times a week all year round, and I'm pretty good. I hope I'll be able to play again soon." I was hoping he would be able to play again ever. I asked Maurice about his safety. Does he know who did this? And does he have concerns that someone might try again to hurt him? He shrugged his shoulders and said, "I feel about as safe as I ever feel. Something like this could happen anywhere, anytime." We talked about how it feels to live like that. At any time you could be shot, doing something or doing nothing. I try to get...
Don't sound like I used to. Just make your points, get out the way. But let's get this done, though, once and for all. Let's get it done, and that's the key. And I just want to say this, because of all the media hype that was out here with the president coming to town last week, the month of February this year, we may end up having a 50% reduction in homicides, believe it or not. There were 29 homicides in February of last year. This year we only have about 11 or 12. We have another week to go, but that could signify the biggest reduction during the month of February ever in the history of Chicago, because of all the joint efforts of everybody organizing, speaking up, unifying, changing the way people think. And I want to thank you all very much. All right.
Through public awareness campaigns and the education of lawmakers. Colleen.
Thank you. Again, my name is Colleen Bailey. I'm the Executive Director of the Illinois Council Against Handgun Violence. My question to everyone here today, to the citizens of the state of Illinois, everyone in our nations, and our elected official is simple. How long can we continue to look the other way? 1,000 people die in the state of Illinois every year in gun-related incidents. Let me repeat that. 1,000 people die in the state of Illinois every year in gun-related incidents. Tragedy upon tragedy. There have been far too many devastating events scarring our nation's conscience. So many horrific stories of lives lost, and it's never getting any easier. Even worse is that statistics tell us that every day that passes, 8 more children are shot and killed across our nation. Is that acceptable?
No!
How many more new towns will it take? How many daily shootings in Chicago will it take? How many more kids are going to be shot sitting on their front porch? When is enough enough? We are here today to once again say we can do better. We demand more for our communities, and we are going to keep coming back again and again and again until we have done everything we possibly can to protect our communities, our neighbors, our country from gun violence. and we hope that all of you here today will join us. We join here today in thanking President Obama for proposing real common sense solutions to poverty. And we thank Senator Durbin and Senator Kirk for taking a leadership role to pass much needed and much supported reforms through Washington. Just this week, the Paul Simon Public Policy Institute did a poll, and in that poll, it confirmed what we already know. 7 out of 10 Illinois voters support stricter gun laws. And this is just not people from the city of Chicago. This is people from across Illinois, gun owners and NRA members alike. They, like us, support reasonable requirements designed to prevent the illegal trafficking of guns into the wrong hands. This includes requiring background checks of the sale of each and every gun sold in our country, reporting if a gun has been lost and stolen to local law enforcement, titling guns like we title cars, and licensing firearm dealers. Titling guns like we title cars. We are the majority, and each of us needs to reach out to our legislators both at the national and state level and demand action because we deserve a vote. As many of you know, the courts in Illinois have decided that in Illinois we have to have a concealed carry law, and we have 180 days to pass that. I agree with the boos, but unfortunately the courts have spoken, and they spoke yet again today. I say that if we have to take on that fight, any law that passes must include common sense measures that save lives. But in order to do that, we need each and every one of your help. And it's most likely that people here today have been touched by someone who has lost their life to gun violence. It's time for all of us to take action and hold our legislators accountable for looking the other way. We are asking each of you here today to join the Illinois Council Against Handgun Violence and many of our partners that are also here today in a rally in Springfield on April 10th. We are going to have an advocacy that day in Springfield where we will call on our legislators to pass the most comprehensive, common sense concealed carry law in the nation. Mark Walsh, who's over there from ICHV's office, has petitions. If you are interested in signing up, sign that petition. We will get you information about the April 10th rally down in Springfield. We'll also be doing some things here in Chicago as well. So I thank you very much. The time is now. Join the fight. We deserve a vote. Thank you.
Make people safer from gun violence. Lee.
Thank you. I got some news. You'll read about it in the papers or hear about it tonight. The 7th Circuit Court of Appeals decided against us today. Illinois' Attorney General Lisa Madigan had asked them to review the decision that Judge Posner and the 3-judge panel had handed down a little over a month ago. That decision threw out Illinois' ban on concealed carry of weapons. Our Attorney General, after we asked her to, responded, we thought, appropriately, and she decided to ask for that review, but she's been turned down. And we're going to ask her one more time to take that appeal all the way to the United States Supreme Court. She is the only person on this planet who has the power to take that appeal. She can either decide to take it or she can let it go. Now, what do we want to tell her to do? That's right. Lisa Madigan, Attorney General of Illinois, is the only person on earth who has the power to protect us from guns everywhere. Are we going to tell Lisa Madigan what we want her to do? That's right. I want every one of you to go home today. I want you to get on your phones, get on your emails. She is the attorney for the people of the state of Illinois. She is an elected official. She's had our support before. If she wants our support again, she's got to take it all the way to the top to protect us from guns everywhere.
Stephen Young was thrust into the issue of gun violence in 1996 when his oldest son Andrew was murdered with an illegally trafficked handgun. For going on 17 years now, Stephen has been a gun safety activist. He headed a Chicago-based survivor group and was a key organizer of the Bell Campaign, which organized the Million Mom March on Mother's Day in 2000. We are very pleased to have Stephen with us. Stephen.
Thank you. I do this for my son Andrew and all the other parents that have lost children. There's a war going on right now in our streets. And I see a lot of faces here that would remember the Vietnam War. Remember those days? The young people here, you've only read about it, but that war tore this country apart culturally. It was young versus old, counterculture versus establishment, McGovern versus Nixon. But eventually, the war was ended because pressure from the American public forced the politicians to shut it down. The people, it took a long time, but they forced that war to come to a close. 58,000 plus Americans died, soldiers of ours died in that war in the 16 years that we were over in Vietnam. So how long does it take for that many Americans to die from gunshot wounds in the United States? 58,000 Americans. Anybody have an idea?
About a year.
Less than 2 years. We're losing about 30,000 a year. So we have the equivalent of Vietnam right here in our country every 2 years. We lose somewhere in the vicinity of 60,000 of our Americans. Young people in this country are about 25 times more likely to get shot with a firearm than young people in any other Western industrialized country, and that's Europe and Scandinavia and Japan and Australia and any country that has a similar industrial base or educational base to the United States. Young people are a lot safer in other countries than they are here in the United States. And why is this so? It's because of access. It's incredibly easy to access a gun in the United States. You can be emotionally disturbed, you can be a convicted criminal, and you could still probably get a gun in one afternoon if you want to get a gun in a hurry. Maybe it didn't turn up in Connecticut, for example. It hasn't turned up in a number of other incidents across the country where somebody with a history of mental illness goes out and ends a lot of people's lives with a military type of weapon. You can stop these type of purchases with a strong federal law across the board, and that's why we need universal background checks, expansion of the mental health base, and probably expansion of domestic abusers and the people who are...
Dunbar Vocational Career Academy and the youth leader with the Kenwood Oakland Community Organization. First off, I would like to thank our president, Mr. Barack Obama, for his vision to launch Organizing for Action as a mechanism to lift our civic voices. I also want to thank the volunteer organizers who make this rally possible. And last but certainly not least, I would like to thank all of you out there for braving the cold to stand up for what is right, what is necessary, and what should be a very simple vote. My neighborhood, Kenwood Oakland, on Chicago's South Side, has seen as much as a 300% increase in homicides. In the past 5 years, there have been close to 1,200 young people killed by a gun in Chicago. This number reflects an 11% increase in 2012 from 2011 and a 26% increase from 2010. We've also seen increased violence as a result of school closings. It's no secret that we've had our difficulty here, but I want to stand here in support of universal background checks as part of a bigger strategy to reduce violence in our neighborhoods. Later tonight, in a Park District facility in my neighborhood, my fellow youth leaders are presenting elected officials and community members with our recommendations on how to stop the violence. In addition to better gun laws, like universal background checks, we also encourage our elected officials to listen to the voices of youth and support broader youth investment through youth employment and teen recreational facilities. These simple things, listening to the people most affected and investing in our youth, now will be the perfect complement to passing universal background checks and other common sense gun laws. We deserve a voice and we demand a vote. Support universal background checks and listen to the voices of the youth. Thank you.